Hello, ma'am.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yeah, you're audible, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Let me know when we're okay. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Srijita on behalf of the Kautilya Society Anniversary. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you joining us for Policy for Charcha Talk 6.0. Today, we are here for an insightful discussion on a very relevant case, the role of consulting firms in policy design, evaluation, and implementation. Our guest speaker for today is Ms. Priyadarshi Dixit, an associate consultant at EY, working in the strategy and transactions division, specifically in the government and public sector vertical, focusing on infrastructure and finance. Ms. Priyadarshi is a graduate of the Indian School of Public Policy, and her work spans across public research, sustainable mobility, climate resilience, technology regulation, and public sector advisory roles. She has contributed to major policy projects with organizations such as the Federation of European Business in India, CIVIS, People's Resource Center, and YLAC, where she actively worked on parliamentary research and tech policy regulation. She is also the co-founder of Samlo Payana, a sustainable tourism initiative promoting community-led development. Her expertise at the intersection of governance, consulting, sustainability, and evidence-based policymaking makes her a powerful voice for students who aspire to enter the policy and consulting space. Ma'am, we are delighted and privileged to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us and taking out time to share your knowledge and experience with our students. With that, I now invite Ms. Priyadarshi Dixit to take the session forward and share her valuable insights with us.
Thank you so much. How are you all? Am I audible to everyone, to the last seat?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, perfect. So, how are you all? Keep the mic open. I'll request to keep the mic open because I want the session to be as interactive as it can be.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. We have our
Okay, perfect. I'll also share a presentation here. Let me know when is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Okay, perfect. So I believe that you already have had the chance to be a part of a session where you already get to know okay, what public consulting or what public policy and consulting firms in government public sector do, right? I believe the last session that was with the consultant from KPMG did give you insight on what consulting firms who specialize in government public sector do. Am I right? Or should I even begin from there?
Many of us
Ma'am, many of us were very present there in the session, so we can start from the beginning.
Okay, perfect then. Okay, so let us begin then from the beginning itself. So the topic for today is that what role do the consulting firms play in policy design, evaluation, and implementation? I hope that you're aware of the concept of Big Four, right? So the Big Fours in India are EY, KPMG, Deloitte, and PwC. I come from EY. The last session that you guys had was from a person from KPMG, right? And we Big Four are majorly present in the government and public sector consultancy. So if we start that why do consulting firms matter in public policy? We have always been aware that public policy is something that government does, right? We have already been always been told that public policy is something that is under the context of government. And just a second. Yeah. Then how come consulting firms are playing a greater role in public policy? Does anyone have any idea? Anyone can give me an answer that how are consulting firms playing a role in public policy? How are we present there? Or a basic idea that what do even consultants do? Anyone who has any idea that what do even consultants do? I am sitting here in a government office right now. What am I doing here? Anything?
And advising the government to like have a better insight and the pragmatic aspect, advise them for better decision making maybe.
Correct. So, as what is your name?
My name is Srijita.
Okay, so as Srijita said, that probably government needs advice, some specialized advice, and from people who are actually specialized, who have specialized knowledge in those sectors, right? So, and why do you think government needs advice? Government can have resources. They can probably they're much more capable of forming a policy, because abhi tak I think isse pehle even when I was joining a course in public policy, even I wasn't aware ki government doesn't do all the work that we see. All the policies that you see, all the policies that you're reading, all the schemes that you're reading are probably not made by the officers, are not made by the bureaucracy that we probably think of would be working on these things, right? So let me quickly move to the point why. So government today is facing complex and cross-sector problems. There are problems that even they keep rising from day to day. For example, climate problems, digital economy, skilling, urbanization. These are the problems which are affecting civilians, government, and also development at a larger scale in day-to-day basis. Then we also have capacity constraints. Now here comes the major point, that why do government needs advice or consultancy in general? Because there's a shortage of technical experts for them. They cannot hire people who are technically expert in whatever domain, because they also have limited resources, right? They have limited resources, they have tight timelines, and there is a lot of administrative overload already on them. They have to finish the implementation of these schemes at a larger level. Hence, they cannot utilize their technical experts or their resources when it comes to making such policies. So that is why they outsource these tasks to the consultancy firms. And that is where we come. We help augment the state capacity, provide them specialized skills, and also bring global best practices to policymaking. How can we bring global best practices to policymaking? Because as you know, the big fours have global presence, right? And hence we have that information present to us, which we can then utilize when it comes to policy making, implementation, and evaluation in the Indian context, right? Any question on this? Or is the point that why consulting firms are important for governments is and public sector advisory, is it clear? Okay, I will not want to make it a very lecture kind of a session where I'm just speaking and or मैं आपको सिर्फ points बता दूं which are on the PPT already. I want to make it as practical as possible. So probably I would like to tell that how we or what we do at EY here, right? Because that will give you more practical insights as to what we are doing and how we are actually helping the government when it comes to policy designing and evaluation and implementation. So let me Gaurav and the other host gave a very correct introduction for me what I am doing in strategy and transactions. But let me be more clear about it, what I do actually here. So I'm a part of Economic Development Advisory. Now, Economic Development Advisory is a service line of EY, which is working with different state governments and central governments on the economic development aspects. Now, what are the four pillars that we are working on? We are working on ease of doing business. We are working on investment promotions. We are working on startups and incubators, right? So these are the four aspects that we are working on. And these four aspects, when they come together, they form the economic development advisory service line for EY. I work with Invest UP. Are you guys aware what are investment promotion agencies?
No.
No. Are you guys aware what Invest India does? I'm assuming no.
We don't. We don't.
Okay, guys. Okay, fine. So, Invest India is a central body which is working for investment promotion with Ministry of Commerce, Department of Commerce and Trade, and what happened? Just a second. So, sorry. Yeah. So, which is working with the central government and is helping them with investment promotion. So, basically, we make policies, we make such schemes that can attract foreign investment, FDI, foreign direct investment into India. Now, is that clear? Yeah. So basically, the way Invest India is working at the central level for foreign direct investment, for attracting and bringing foreign direct investments into India at the central level, similarly, each state government has its own investment promotion agency, which is working again with different government bodies, with different government structures in order to bring that FDI into their state. And how FDI helps, I think that you guys will be aware that FDI helps in economic development, right? The more FDI you're able to get, the more resources and investment you're able to get, more economically developed your state would be. There are many indexes and there are many reports that come from even Niti Aayog that how state governments are competing amongst themselves, right? There is this cooperative competition that is going on between the state governments to attract that FDI into their particular state. And in order to attract that FDI into their particular state, they need certain schemes, they need certain policies which are actually going to help or are that work in a way of incentivizing the FDI into their state, right? For that, again, state government doesn't have those technical experts, or they don't have those resources in order to first make those policies, in order to then assist that FDI and facilitate that FDI on ground, help the investors come here and see how can they probably interact with the government people. All of that, the state government doesn't have the resources. Then that is where the consulting firms come into play. Now, how do you think a state government will employ a consulting firm? Employ as in how will they reach out to a consulting firm? Will they go in general and ask any consulting firm to come and work for them? Do you think that is how they work?
No, ma'am.
No. So what do they do is, now again a very technical term, but I will try to explain it in an easier way. Governments basically take out RFPs. RFPs is request for proposal. जनरल टर्म में इफ आई स्पीक, टेंडर्स. ओके, सो एक स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की, आर यू गाइस कंफर्टेबल विद हिंदी ऑल्सो? बीच बीच में इफ आई डू. परफेक्ट, ओके. तो गवर्नमेंट्स क्या करते हैं, अब स्टेट गवर्नमेंट बॉडी फॉर एग्जांपल इन्वेस्ट यूपी है यहाँ पे, दे नीड अ कंसल्टिंग फर्म बिकॉज दे नीड दैट टेक्निकल एक्सपर्टीज, दे नीड द एफडीआई, एंड मिस्टर योगी आदित्यनाथ इज राइट हियर एट द इन्वेस्ट यूपी's CEO's head कि you know what, I need the technical expertise, I need policies in order to get those FDI, and so that my state can reach at that top ranking at the index, right? So now the Invest UP CEO. So CEO is Chief Executive Officer. It is always a bureaucrat who gets this position. Okay. So a senior IS officer is sitting at this position. He will say, okay, so क्योंकि हमें अब एक consulting firm चाहिए होगे because we definitely don't have the resources here. We'll take out a RFP or we'll issue a tender. Okay, so a very detailed document is properly curated, and that is then flown out on the tender websites, government portals. You guys should go and check GEM portal. Probably just note down anywhere. You will get to see a lot of tenders on those portal. The GEM portal is the government central level portal where all the tenders are issued from all the bodies, state level bodies, central level bodies, ministries, agencies, PSUs, right? From maybe if any, let's say, a office requires 12 desktop, so they also will have to issue a tender to let's say a state investment promotion agency who needs a consulting firm. So it is not easy to employ a consulting firm. It's always a fair competition that has to be, shown in the market, and hence tenders are flown. Then there are certain rules, there are certain eligibility criteria which are mentioned. For example, the firm should have a turnover of this much, the firm should have worked in similar projects in these many states, the firm should have some proper recognition from these agencies. If you are fulfilling these criteria, if a firm is fulfilling these criteria, it will apply for the tender. It will go for the tender, and then proper evaluation is done by the state agencies. And in this case, Invest UP will flow out the tender. All the let's say all the four big four consulting firms, they would have definitely contested for this project, and then a proper evaluation would have been done. So the firm then, which would have stood at par with all of the eligibility criteria, and also the second criteria is आपका finance quote करना. So any firm which would have quoted the least finance resources, that firm will get the project. Okay. A little technical, but I'm trying to explain all of this to you guys because this is something that will never be told when you are studying public policy as a subject or how things work. But when you will come here, you will probably have to sit here, and when you try to get a project and when you work with the teams, you will probably have to work on proposal making. Proposal making is when you see a tender, when any consulting firm tries to bid for a tender, they have to make a detailed proposal. Detailed proposal mein, again, you will be putting all the details according to the tender. You will be putting everything, and then you will be submitting it. And this is the first step where public policy starts. If you want to step into government consulting, this is the first thing that you should be knowing. Government procurement is altogether subject in public policy. So probably try to look out for certain technicalities, and try to probably look out for an RFP. It will help you gauge how things work. Okay. Now the next step. For example, if EY had also EY had given the bid, Deloitte had given the bid. Finally, EY का सबसे less finance भी उन्होंने quote किया था, and हम eligibility criteria maybe we were fitting well. We will be given the tender then, and it is for a certain period as in 5 years, probably 10 years, or even 2 years or 4 years. Jitna requirement the government thinks we will be needing the agency for, utne time ke liye the RFP is issued. After that, now comes the task where the consultants come into play. Because now what we have to do is we have to then sit, make impact reports, make policies that will now run this agency's core objective of getting those investments. So for UP, Invest UP, So for Invest UP, for example, there is this one policy that was the first policy that was created back in 2022. Okay. The first thing that the consultants, when they came here, the team, when it was deployed here, the first thing that it did was make a policy that was UP Industrial Development and Employment Promotion Policy 2022. Okay. This was the first policy that was created back in 2022. And then according to, for this policy, there was a PIU that was set up. PIU is Project Implementation Unit. Is there any confusion?
No, ma'am.
If there is any confusion, because I can hear you guys speaking or talking amongst yourself, you can definitely ask me. ओके तो अब हम यहाँ तक आ गए हैं कि कंसल्टेंसी फर्म्स कैसे डिप्लॉय होती हैं, कैसे टीम्स डिप्लॉय होती हैं, गवर्नमेंट को क्यों रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, और इसके बाद पहली चीज जो कोई भी कंसल्टिंग फर्म जब डिप्लॉय होती है तो वो करेगी पॉलिसी बनाने का काम. नाउ दिस इज वेयर वी कम टू द फर्स्ट सब टॉपिक ऑफ द डे, दैट इज पॉलिसी डिजाइनिंग, राइट? So let me now tell you कि what do we do when it comes to policy designing? What is our role when it comes to policy designing? So evidence and research. How do you think a policy is made? You definitely need a lot of data-backed stories or data-backed research to basically even start from scratch for any policy. And for that, we have to conduct the baseline studies. The baseline studies means if in the case of, for example, this policy that was created, we did a lot of baseline studies from the other states. Okay, we did a lot of benchmarking against other states and countries who already had IPAs. IPAs, whenever I say, means investment promotion agencies, or other countries who had very solid structured policy when it came to investment promotion. And then we identify what are those core points or what are those core levers which are working for them, which are those levers on which they are basically deriving the actionable policy related things and implementation on ground. Then we also get a lot of data. For example, when it comes to UP का ये policy, we had to see कि already कितना GDP है, कितना CGRA है, all of these things, कौन से sectors already present हैं, कितना आपका import data कितना है, export data already कितना है, and then how many infrastructural, for example, infrastructural structures are already present. In सबका data, you then compile. And then you compile the data and turn it into story, basically analyzing it. When we say turning data into story, it means analyzing the data. Then you analyze the data, you do all the benchmarking, you do all the evidence-based research. This is the first step of making a policy, which is again, which takes a long time. It is not a fortnight or 2 or 3 day work. Every consultant, so there are again sector specialists who are deployed here. For example, one is an automobile sector specialist. He will try to have conversations with all the industries who are already present, with all the industries who are present maybe in states who are excelling in automobile sector. When I say automobile sector in states who are excelling, let's say Tamil Nadu, right? Let's say Andhra, let's say Karnataka. These states are excelling in automobile sector. What are those factors which are working in favor for them? What are the infrastructure facilities that are working for them? When I say infrastructure facilities, there are a lot of things that come into play. There are plug and play facilities, there are industrial parks, there are standalone units. So all these things you will get to know in detail at a later stage whenever you will actually start working. But these are the things that needs to be studied. Then will we be able to, let's say, make a plug and play facility here in UP? Will it be sustainable? Will it be financially possible? Will it be economically and, let's say, environmental conditions ko dekhte hue, will it be possible here? Then that is studied. After that thing is done, so that is basically your evidence based research is done. The first step is completed, right? Next comes, just a second. Yeah. Next comes basically strategic advisory. So that is a different thing. Let's say next comes stakeholder consultations. I hope you guys are aware that what stakeholder consultations are. Can anyone tell me what stakeholder consultations are?
Yeah. Ma'am, basically, stakeholder consultation include to consult with all the stakeholders of the project that the government is doing or the controls is doing. Yeah.
Correct. So basically, in order to align the interests of all the people who are going to be a part of that ecosystem or that policy, you need to have a greater discussion, in-depth discussion with all those people. For example, if I'm working on, let's say, an agriculture policy, okay, there will be different interest groups who are going to be affected by that policy. A group of, let's say, farmers, then normal civilians, then probably government agencies, then Department of Agriculture, then environment also will be involved at some level, then probably the trade department will be involved. How? Because again, you are exporting the raw or finished goods to other countries. So all these parties will be involved at one or the other stage, and hence, to avoid any conflict of interest in future or at any stage of implementation, you need to hear their problems, you need to hear their views, that what problems do they have, or what probably suggestions they have, so that in future there doesn't arise कोई भी ऐसा conflict of interest जहां पे फिर implementation में problem आए, right? तो इसलिए we do a stakeholder consultation at state level. Here for, let's say, Invest UP, when we are working for any such policy, will involve industrialists, will involve sectors experts, will involve the state government, will involve the trade associations, will involve the industry bodies. I hope you guys are aware of CII, which is Confederation of Indian Industries. It's basically an interest group or association of industrial bodies present in India, who then represent their interests and issues to the government at different levels. Okay, so even these trade association or industrial association have to be included in during the stakeholder consultation, right?
Ma'am, just hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
From this side. Ma'am, just a question regarding to the same stakeholder consultation, that there is a policy, pre-legislative consultation policy that the government used to do before getting into any of the drafts enacted. So
Okay.
if any of the policy or the proposals that we are saying, the impact assessment or kind of the things that we are doing, the stakeholder consultation, that is what we are doing in the PLCP as well. Is
Okay.
there are two questions now. Is there any difference between these two in their doing on our functioning? And the second is, this is purely a bureaucratic process, or the consultants are also involved in doing the same?
Okay. The first, the answer to the first question will be, I don't think so. There is a larger difference when it comes to both of these. Both are, see, advisory in nature. There is no obligation when it comes to taking these suggestions and actually making them a part of the policy. Similar is for the legislation thing also. Government does take all of these suggestions and does these stakeholder consultations, but it is under no obligation to make it a part of the final law or the final bill. Similarly, with stakeholder consultation also, we do take their views into consideration. We try to align if there is a conflict of interest between two, let's say state government and trade association. They have an issue and they are locking horns on some issue. We will try to then sit with them. We will also do a task of mediation, that how can we come to a midpoint and probably take out that point and put it into the policy. But again, we are under no obligation to put it into a proper policy later, and nobody can approach us with that claim that our views were taken into consideration, but then we do not see it in the final version of the policy. That will never happen. The second question was that are the consultants involved? Definitely yes. ब्यूरोक्रेटिक लेवल पे आई विल से बहुत ही कम होता है where you see the bureaucrats present in all the meetings, whereas a consultant will always be present in all the meetings, because we are the ones who are curating these policies. We are the ones who need these insights for our work later. So we have to be present in all these stakeholder meetings. So definitely for this, especially for these stakeholder consultations, there is a specialized subject in master. When you do go for probably a master's in public policy or any public policy scholar, they go for a stakeholder negotiation classes, where you learn the art of negotiating, because you don't have to just listen their views. There will be questions, there will be counter questions to you, that why are you trying to put the government at forefront and not our views? We present a larger industrial body, probably our insights or our points should be there. Then you also have to utilize the art of negotiating, right? Which again, the bureaucrats won't do. To understand, bureaucrats work at a very different level. They are here to see that how things are getting implemented, and that I do not have to give an answer to the upper management. When I say upper management for the bureaucrat, means the chief secretary or the CM probably. Okay, so it is now our task to make sure that the policy has the views of everyone involved, while we are also negotiating with every stakeholder. So it comes to us. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Have I
Thank you so much,
answered your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. So yeah, so stakeholder consultation is the second most important step. I think excellent question it was, because I was able to tell you even more in detail that how things work. You also have to negotiate a lot of things with government, with different bodies, with different stakeholders, in order to come to a point where you're able to take every important point and convert it into a proper policy without leaving any important voice. Okay. So this was the second thing. Now we also do the strategic advisory, that is helping governments define policy goals, KPIs, what are going to be the key performance indicator. For example, when it comes to this policy, we would have defined certain policy goals कि ये तो पॉलिसी हमने एक ओवर आर्किंग अम्ब्रेला पॉलिसी बना दी है आपके लिए, पर इसमें आपको कुछ केपीआईज भी तो बनाने पड़ेंगे, जो केपीआईज आप फिर अपनी डिफरेंट ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेस को दोगे, जो आप अपनी डिफरेंट बॉडीज को दोगे. इन्वेस्ट यूपी के अंडर ही देर आर डिफरेंट बॉडीज विच आर वर्किंग, right? There are land development authorities which are working, there are other trade associations which are working, so आप उनको भी कुछ KPIs दोगे. Then we develop those policy objectives, we develop those policy goals, and we develop those KPIs. And we also do the scenario planning, stakeholder mapping. We have already talked about what is going to be the cost benefit analysis. अब अगर मैंने पॉलिसी में लिख दिया कि एक काम करिए, आप 4 इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क बना दीजिए, ठीक है, आपको बहुत इन्वेस्टमेंट मिलेगा, क्योंकि हमने देखा कि तमिलनाडु में तो 4 इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क बने हुए हैं, हमने बेंचमार्किंग में देखा था, और इस वजह से उनके पास तो बहुत सारा industries are they are coming, they are bringing a lot of FDI. So what you should also do is make 4 industrial parks. Do you think the government will agree कि हाँ ठीक है, हम 4 इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क्स बना देते हैं फटाफट, बिकॉज दिस पर्टिकुलर पर्सन फ्रॉम सम XYZ कंसल्टेंसी फर्म इज सेइंग कि तमिलनाडु ने किया था तो आप भी कर दो? नो, दे विल नॉट एग्री. यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा, अगर आपको एक लैंड बैंक भी किसी को अलॉट करवाना होता है, या फिर एक छोटा सा स्ट्रक्चर भी, इफ यू हैव टू गेट इट डन, एनीथिंग विच इन्वॉल्व्स फाइनेंसेस, आपको कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस करके देना पड़ेगा, which is again a very important thing. Okay, because they do require a proper analysis that how are you going to utilize those finances, or probably if government does go forward with, let's say, your suggestion of building 4 industrial parks, what are going to be the benefits that it is going to leverage out of this, right? अगर मैं 480 करोड़ लगा के एक पार्क बना रही हूँ, तो मुझे ये जानना पड़ेगा कि इसमें कितनी इंडस्ट्रियल बॉडीज आएंगी, कौन कौन से सेक्टर्स आप टारगेट कर रहे हो, कौन कौन सी कंपनीज आप टारगेट कर रहे हो, वो कितना इन्वेस्टमेंट लाएंगे. अगर 480 करोड़ में लेट्स से सारी लेट्स से 12 इन सेक्टर्स भी आएंगे, और फोर कंपनीज आर कमिंग एंड दे आर ब्रिंगिंग अ टोटल इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑफ 400 करोड़, द गवर्नमेंट इज एट लॉस, right? Government will never invest in any such thing which gives them a loss. That is where the consultants again come. So I am a strategy and transaction consultant that in finance, which again means I have to do all of these things. Okay, we have done the strategy part, but here it is where the transaction part comes in. You have to do the cost benefit analysis, predictability of the finances that are going to be turned in, and how are we going to be at a stage where we can actually leverage benefit out of it. If I'm able to show, again, there are frameworks, there are models, there are formulas and everything that we have to utilize. I will not go into that much detail, but when we do all of that, and if I'm able to show कि ठीक है, अगर हम 4 इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क बनाएंगे, इस पॉलिसी में हमें डालना है कि 4 इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क शुड बी मेड अंडर दिस पॉलिसी, और उसके थ्रू हम 480 करोड़ के इन्वेस्टमेंट में वी विल बी गेटिंग एन ROI ऑफ लेट्स से 1000 करोड़, government will be more than happy to invest in it then, right? So this is where again the consultants come. A finance consultant would be doing this. Okay. Then designing incentive structures, regulatory frameworks and governance models. Again, very interesting. यहाँ पे जब we were making this policy, I did tell you in the beginning also that you have to attract the investment by giving certain incentives to the investors, right? आप बोलोगे कि आप आ जाओ क्योंकि यहाँ पे हमें जरूरत है इन्वेस्टमेंट की, तो कोई इन्वेस्टर क्यों आएगा? How do you think an investor is going to also decide? Because वो भी तो market देख रहा है, उसको भी तो, he will also have a cost benefit analysis going on in his team, जहाँ पे उसको ज़्यादा benefit मिले. Now, how do they decide, and how we come into play again, where we design these incentives? Probably, let's say, an investor will need let's say 12-acre land here. Okay. And he will definitely be buying that land, paying the stamp duty, paying other things. That is where we can design incentive that, okay, if you are going, let's say, if you're buying a land above 5 acres, no stamp duty for you. Okay. No, probably above 200 units, no electricity bill will be just, let's say, 5 rupees per unit for you. Or if you are generating an employment of 200 plus people, then there's the list of these incentives that you will be getting. So this is how we design those incentives. Again, it is backed by data, it is backed by evidence, it is backed by that finance modeling done. blank numbers nahi hote hain. There's a lot of research that goes for that also. But this is how we design incentives. When I'm talking about this policy, UPIEEP policy, that is investment promotion and employment generation policy, there also we have a list of incentives that we give to different investors in different sectors. राइट तो वो इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए जो इंसेंटिव भी हम डिजाइन करते हैं दैट ऑल्सो कम्स अंडर अस रेगुलेटरी कंप्लायंसेस बनाना कि ओके आपके रेगुलेटरी कंप्लायंसेस एज इन व्हाट ऑल विल बी द रेगुलेशंस दैट यू विल हैव टू फॉलो फॉर एग्जांपल आपके एनवायरनमेंट के अंडर ये रेगुलेटरी कंप्लायंसेस हैं व्हिच यू हैव टू फॉलो bylaws होते हैं land bylaws होते हैं so these are again regulatory compliances which you have to follow. You have to leave a certain piece of land where there should be some green plantation in your industry. Proper drainage system होना चाहिए, proper effluent जो आपका waste management है वो होना चाहिए. Right? So these are the things we again have to involve and see कि ये चीजें भी policy में ही involved हो. Then co-creation with government means again policy labs, workshops, stakeholder consultations again, policy documents banana, cabinet notes banana. These are certain things which will come to you on a day-to-day basis. If you're working in a consulting firm and if you're working in a government structure, जहाँ पे आप ऐसे setup में हो where you're working directly with, let's say, a person who's sitting there and he's a bureaucratic officer, on a day-to-day basis, you will be making policy documents, you will be making cabinet notes, जो सीधे different cabinet में जाते हैं, secretary, for example, if this policy was made, तो इसका एक cabinet note बनेगा. This cabinet note will be let's say a simplified version of what the policy is. Why are we going ahead with this policy? What all has been done and what requirement is from the cabinet or from the government. Then this policy is placed in the in the cabinet and then it goes for approval and then the approval is done. Approve hone ke baad, once it is approved by the cabinet, then again it comes to us. If there are any changes that are suggested to us by the cabinet, then we have to sit again with the officer, we have to sit with the other stakeholders, we again have to see if we can involve those feedbacks and those changes in the policy, or if not, then how do we move ahead. This is the loop that goes on till you finally have a finalized version of a policy which is approved by the cabinet, which is approved by the bureaucratic officer sitting at the top of the organization, which is also approved by all the stakeholders, and then finally you have a policy document with you. A lot of work goes into one single policy. It's not easy. It's not a one-night task where you sit and you say कि आज रात में बैठ के policy बना लेंगे. It doesn't happen that way. This policy took, I think, 1.5 months. I'm currently working on a policy which is a leather sector policy. We've been working on it since last 2 months. Every time it goes, it comes with some other changes. So this is where the consulting firms comes and the detailed role that we play when it comes to policy designing. Is there any question? Because we have almost completed the first subtopic.
Ma'am, one more further question regarding the same. That there are too many methods to. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah, you are. Please tell me. Just a second.
Ma'am, I was saying there.
Yeah.
I was telling, ma'am, there are too many methods to evaluate the policy. For an instance, we used to do the regulatory impact assessment. That is what OECD countries used to follow. Or if we go into the particular instance of the impact evaluation method that the World Bank follows, or the PLCP that the India is having. So in this particular policy system that we as a consulting firms used to do with the governments, how are we used to do? Means, are we going to club all these 3 effective scoring methods, or are we developing something of our own, ma'am?
Okay. So see, generally, MBBs and Big Fours also have their own evaluation frameworks, which we have designed from our own expertise of working in different projects, working in different countries altogether. Because Big Four is not Big Four, especially, and MBBs also, McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. I hope you guys know that even these companies are now moving into government and public sector. Bain is already working with government of Karnataka. BCG is also working with government of Tamil Nadu in different sectors, right? So these big agencies are also moving into this government public sector, and because we have that expertise of working not just in one country or in sector, we have worked in different sectors in different countries across projects. We have also come up with few evaluation frameworks. And when you will join a company, let's say probably you will join a consulting firm, there will be training sessions for you where you'll actually learn about these frameworks. You learn about what other methods or modules we have created, and you follow that. Because see, अगर हम कोई ऐसी चीज यूज करेंगे which why are we employed or deployed at the first level is because we bring certain technical expertise, is because we bring certain technical knowledge, right? Again, these methods are in line with the World Bank evaluation framework or with even ADB. ADB is Asian Development Bank, right? So these organizations which work at the global level, of course, our methods and frameworks are also in line with these, somewhere following a strict pattern. But again, this is where our technical expertise comes in. This is where our treasure of knowledge comes in, because we have developed those by seeing what actually works. Okay, was I able to answer, or is there a question?
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
please.
Ma'am, I have one more question. So with respect to the whole session being like conveniently maneuvering around data synthesizing, and also because of the fact that you also mentioned that a while ago about finance modeling, among other things, wherein large amount of data is being synthesized and being chunked into and are condensed into bite-sized formats. So how do consultancy firms actually approach the synthesizing of large chunk of data into sizable actionable goals, and like what's the approach in terms of understanding or condensing down the data?
Okay, so let me tell you from an example where I was working on this project. So we are trying to basically create a new service line also, where we'll be working as in-country partners for the global IPAs. Global IPAs as in global investment promotion agencies. Probably, let's say, Austrade from Australia is the investment promotion agency for them, and we will be working as their in-house country partner. That means we'll be working here, we'll be situated here, and we'll be helping them get Indian investments into Australia. Okay, so now for that, we need a lot of data around FDI. We need a lot of data around imports and exports, and probably it starts in a very simplified way. What we had to do was we had to go through all the RBI archives, जितने भी डेटा हमें मिला है, राइट, स्टार्टिंग राइट फ्रॉम लेट्स से 2005 से लेके 2025, so 20 years of data for FDI, not just for one country but for all the countries, because we have to analyze the data in order to see what is the trend, what is the pattern, which sectors are flourishing, which sectors are seeing a dip, right? तो उसके लिए हमें वो 20 साल का डेटा पढ़ना था, तो 20 साल का डेटा हमने निकाला है पहले वो सारे आर्काइव्स से. We went to these trade, so there's a statistics, आपका एक टैब है इन डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स. वो स्टैटिस्टिक्स में आपको अगेन यू विल गेट अ लॉट ऑफ डेटा अराउंड इंपोर्ट्स, एक्सपोर्ट्स, commodity based, region based, again also by timelines and all. वो डेटा भी हमने निकाला है. गोज ऑन वेरी सिंपली, सारा डेटा लेके एक्सेल में डाल दो, ठीक है. I know it sounds very वो कि कुछ तो बहुत अलग टेक्निक लगाते होंगे, but no, this is where your basic knowledge of advanced Excel, then probably if you are then converting it into an actionable insight for someone, तो वहाँ पे हम Python and BI use करते हैं. So let me tell you, तो हमने वो data लिया, we took all that data, we had to put it into the Excel. We then had to see a trend, we had to see कि हम इसको कैसे align कर सकते हैं. So we made 4 sheets. We made one for the FDI, we made one for the imports and exports, and we made one for the commodity based exports. Then we had to see ki how can we probably set few filters in order to read that and in order to understand that. क्योंकि data is something जो आपको खुद जब आप देखोगे ना, and if you will be used to it once, you will be used to seeing those numbers. आप देख के ही समझ सकते हो कि if I probably put a filter country wise, I will be able to see a better trend, or if I put a let's say a filter according to the commodity or according to the year, will I be able to see a better trend? Okay, if you want to do a comparison, you can probably put both. Then you have to then we put those filters, we again sort the data. So sorting data is also a method where you probably again you should go, I don't want to make it very technical, but I'm just giving you terms which you can later then check and see how things work. So sorting data is a thing that we do. Then after sorting data, we have a clean Excel. तो एक बोला जाता है कि clean sheet होनी चाहिए. Clean sheet is a term which is used. So clean sheet means if the data is messed up, if it is making no sense to you or to anyone, you need to arrange it in a way that it is making sense and it is showing a proper trend. So for that, you need to sort the data, you need to put those filters, you need to again then then we finally come to BI. Power BI, which is where we try to then use the data visualization tools in order to make a story. Okay. And then that is how we, for example, for the IPA thing, we tried seeing ki what are the sectors who are seeing an upwards trend. So हमने उनके लिए एक अलग actionable proper एक visualization sheet बनाई थी. And then we tried also to see कि सबसे ज़्यादा FDI from India, which are the countries who are receiving and what are the factors. So then we also did that. Is there a confusion?
Ma'am, one more thing regarding the same, that you told about that how the stakeholders comments in this particular, how all the data are being carried on, are being taken and collected, and it is being further processed. But on the same line, ma'am, there is one more thing that, for example, if I take, there is in July itself, SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India, has released a white paper for the consultation for the use of AI ML in the securities market.
Okay.
Now, whenever these kind of the policy papers or the white papers are released for the consultations, are the government or whatever the concerned organizations, are they being liable to justify? I mean, suppose if I have proposed a certain number of solutions or certain number of questions or amendments to further sections, are they liable to do the same or provide a justification whether what to do or what not to do?
I hope I'm getting a question right, that when any government body is taking out a public consultation paper, which is a white paper, which is probably for public consultation. So, okay, can you hear me? Yeah. So, are we liable as in who? If you can clear that part to me.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Sorry, I lost
Yeah.
you for a while.
Yeah. So can you clear the last part of the question to me, that when these papers or white papers are put out in the public, right, for the public consultation process, if you're talking about that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so then who are liable? Sorry, I didn't get the last part of your question.
I was saying that whether the concerned authorities are liable to answer them, that whether they have incorporated or if they have not, then why they have ignored their suggestion.
Okay.
Something of that sort, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So I also worked with Civis. I don't know if you guys are aware about this organization, but Civis is an initiative organization under Civic Foundation, and Civis is working largely in the domain of public consultation. You guys should probably check out their website and their other Instagram or social media pages. You will get to know a lot about public consultation, how it works. So, when any agency or when any organization takes out a white paper or puts out any amendment that has to be done in any policy or scheme for public consultation, the word consultation itself, connotes the meaning that it is under no obligation. So, if it wants, and it is also appreciated that there should be a proper transparency, there should be a proper communication between the body and the civilians or any, let's say, interest group who's being affected by by the changes or by the policy. It is usually appreciated that they do tell that why are we not going ahead with your suggestion, or why are we probably going ahead with your suggestion, and if you're involving it or not. But again, it is under no obligation. So that is where such organizations like Civis come into play, because they're trying to make this gap as close as possible, because this is important for the civilians or for the larger good of public also, that if a certain amendment or if a certain change is being introduced, why it is being introduced, and what impact will it have on you guys. So transparency and accountability ke point of view say, it is appreciated, it is promoted, it will be much also encouraged, but it is under no obligation. Any agency is under no obligation to revert back to you. Am I clear, or
Yes.
was the question answered?
Yes, ma'am. Completely clear. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, welcome. Probably look out for Civis. Sorry if I didn't get your name. Will you please tell me your name, because you were asking good questions. So, would
Shubham, ma'am. Shubham Saurav.
Shubham. Okay, so Shubham, go to Civis website. Okay, you will get to see a lot of such white papers and such consultations which are put into public. And how are these agencies trying to then convert those suggestions into actionable insights and into actionable policies? Probably check out Civis, and you will get to know a lot into public consultation domain. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Also, if you're actually interested in public consultation as a subject, do let me know. Civis conducts its policy leaders internship program every 2 months. I can recommend you or anyone who's interested for that, and you will get to know a lot more when you will actually be working on public consultation with these agencies. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
Definitely will get in touch with you for this.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to recommend people who are interested in this, because they also appreciate people who are genuinely interested in working with public consultations. Okay, so where were we? We were at the part where we were discussing about the policy designing. So policy designing, this is how the designing part is done. Next comes the evaluation part. Okay, just a second. So now, what role are we playing in policy? Okay, first is implementation. Cool. Implementation. So that is where again the consultancy firms come. Even before we started, I told you about PIUs, PMUs. कोई भी पॉलिसी जब आपने बना ली है, तो आपको उसको इम्प्लीमेंट भी करना होगा, उसके डिलीवरेबल्स भी डिफाइन करने होंगे, आपको उसका फीडबैक लूप्स भी बनाने होंगे. यू विल आल्सो हैव टू मॉनिटर कि वो ऑन ग्राउंड कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट हो रही है, कैसे नहीं. तो उसके लिए एक बॉडी डिप्लॉय करती है. हर कंसल्टिंग फर्म में यही होता है, जिसको हम बोलते हैं ईदर पॉलिसी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन यूनिट, अगर सिर्फ एक पॉलिसी को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए ये बॉडी डिप्लॉय करी जा रही है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वी हैव अ PIU राइट हियर वर्किंग ऑन दिस पॉलिसी दैट आई जस्ट नाउ टोल्ड यू. तो दे आर वर्किंग ऑन दैट पॉलिसी. उसको कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट करना है, उसके कैसे डिलीवरेबल्स हमें डिफाइन करने हैं, उसके क्या ऑब्जेक्टिव्स होंगे, उसके KPIs कैसे डिफाइन करने हैं, पर मंथ KPI में कितना काम हुआ है, कितना नहीं, कैसे करना है, all of that PIU does. Whereas a PMU, that is a project management unit, also looks into the operational part of things. ठीक है कि if for example if we are trying to work on investment promotion here, then lead generation is a very important aspect of investment promotion. Lead generation means you're trying to use market intelligence in order to know what all companies are actually interested in coming to India, what all sectors are flourishing, which companies in those sectors are interested in are actually moving to other states, and how can we bring particularly those companies to India or to UP in that matter. So that is where PMUs and delivery units come in. And each of these PMU is set up in any ministry or department. For example, as I told you, Invest UP, we have a PIU, we also have a PMU. Let's say EY also have a PMU here in UPPCB, which is Uttar Pradesh Pollution Control Board. So how things are working there, what day-to-day tasks we can coordinate. We have to coordinate with multiple departments. We have to monitor the progress of the policy that we've already created. Then there are different ministries which will be involved, different departments which will be involved. So we are basically in-house team. अब हम इन हाउस टीम है यहाँ पे. वी कभी कभार तो यू विल फील यू आर नॉट वर्किंग फॉर दैट बिग फोर, यू एक्चुअली वर्किंग फॉर दिस गवर्नमेंट organization that you are in, because you become such an integral part of the ecosystem, because you know the ins and outs. You are working with every department, you're working with all the people here, you're working with the bureaucrats, the government officers and everyone. You have to prepare the dashboards. Then you also have to ensure that there is a proper alignment between what you had talked about in the policy and what is actually being implemented on ground. Okay, is there a cohesion between these two things? Coherence होना बहुत important है. You cannot say कि हम let's say हमारा goal था, policy goal था, सिंपल सा मैं बताती हूँ, इस पॉलिसी का सिंपल पॉलिसी गोल था कि विद इन 10 years वी हैव टू ब्रिंग अ इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑफ दिस मच. ठीक है, अब ये हमारा पॉलिसी गोल था. क्या ये पॉलिसी एग्जीक्यूट हो भी रही है ऑन ग्राउंड? तो ऑन ग्राउंड में लेट्स से इन 10 years का गोल बना था, तो अब उसको हम एक्शनेबल इनसाइट्स बनाने के लिए क्या करेंगे, KPI बनाने के लिए पर ईयर के हिसाब से वी ट्राई टू ब्रेक इट डाउन. कि इफ फॉर एग्जाम्पल 4800 crores was the investment goal for 10 years, we have to have 480 crore of investment per year roughly. 10 साल में अगर 4800 करोड़ चाहिए तो एक साल में 480 करोड़ हमें रफली चाहिए होगा. अब ये हमारा एक लार्जर KPI बन गया है कि अब उसके लिए then the PMU will be working on the execution of this in order to get those investments, lead generation. You work with the investors. आप ऑन ग्राउंड जो है फैसिलिटेट भी करा रहे होते हो सब कुछ, कि लैंड बैंक कितना है यहाँ पे, एवरीथिंग. So I will not go into a lot of detail because it will be a lot of technicality, but just understand that you then are working as the on ground officers also for them. You are seeing that the policy is being implemented properly. Okay, so we have designed a policy. Now we are working in a PMU or a PIU where we are seeing that the policy is fulfilling the KPIs that we ourselves have defined. Okay, because again you are answerable. और गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर में one big thing is that if you are not able to properly deliver your KPIs, your project can be shut down at any point. Government can say आपका जो भी deliverables, they are not we cannot see anything happening, so we are shutting down the project. Shutting down the project means you people getting out of work. So it's important that everyone, each one of us is here, who is here is accountable for the successful implementation of this policy. Then process re-engineering means that, for example, there is a workflow. I told you कि EODB is one of the service line that we work in. In starting में ही बताया था कि there's this one pillar that we work on is EODB. तो ease of doing business में हम क्या changes आ सकते हैं departmental workflow में. For example, simple से बताती हूँ. One thing that we have done here is पहले क्या होता था किसी को भी अगर कोई भी अगर आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन सबमिट करना है किसी भी इन्वेस्टर को तो जाहिर सी बात है कि उसको ऑफिस आना पड़ेगा ऑफिस आके बताना पड़ेगा यहाँ पे कि यू नो वी आई एम इंटरेस्टेड आई वांट टू एक्चुअली इन्वेस्ट दिस मच डू दिस what we have done is we've re-engineered it. We have made a Nivesh Mitra portal. अब एक पोर्टल बना दिया है हमने विच इज सेल्फ सस्टेनिंग. आप उसमें अपना लेटर ऑफ इंटेंट फाइल कर सकते हो, आप उसमें अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन फाइल कर सकते हो, आप उसमें अपना अलग जो भी आपको लेटर्स देने हैं यू कैन फाइल दैट. देन समवन फ्रॉम हियर will see the request, will see okay is this फिर background check होता है letter of intent का क्योंकि is this a verifiable investor trying to look for probably a land here and trying to get some help from us. Then a certain person who's a sector specialist here in that particular sector, for example the companies from pharma, so a pharma specialist will be here in the PMU. That person will then call the investor and will then help him, handhold him in order to properly get the investment to UP. So we have made a Nivesh Mitra portal. Things are easier for them now. So that is ease of doing business. किसी भी स्टेट में इन्वेस्टर ये भी देखता है कि हमारा काम कितना आसान हो रहा है, क्या हमें बार बार 100 चक्कर लगाने पड़ेंगे ऑफिस के, which is basically a major hurdle in any government organization. Red tapeism, I think you know that term. Are you guys aware of this term, red tapeism? Yes. Red tapeism means the kind of bureaucratic hurdles that are created, which is corruption, right? And other such things. तो अगर यहाँ पे कोई इन्वेस्टर जितना बार बार फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन्वेस्टर हैज टू कम हियर टू मीट द गवर्नमेंट official for let's say 10 times, government official has the power to say, you know what, I will pass your file only when you probably submit this amount of money in my bank. That does used to happen. And then to basically make sure that this doesn't happen, and in order to make sure the investors do not face these kind of problems, we re-engineered the process. We made a portal. Investor doesn't have to meet the official. He can submit the file for intent and everything online. We will get that. We will then reach out to him and then do all the facilitation tasks for him. Understood? Then capacity building. Definitely. We have, as I told previously also, we have that expertise. We bring that expertise. We have the knowledge and all that knowledge bank when it comes to what digital tools are being used. What are the current standing operating procedures, SOPs? What are the toolkits that are being utilized by other government, by in a global setting? So we again come here to train, we come in the picture where we also do these workshops for civil servants. So बहुत यहाँ पे every other I think month there is a workshop that we conduct for the officials here. So जहाँ भी जिस भी setting में आप होगे वहाँ के civil servants या वहाँ के officials के लिए these organizations also conduct these workshops in order to basically enhance their skill sets and make them or bring them in line with the kind of ecosystem that is required. Okay. Again, a public-private coordination. I already told you that how we can enable that partnership between industry, academia, startups, and multilaterals. How we can manage MOUs, investment leads, PPP structures. This is specifically when I had written down this point specifically when it comes to projects where investment or where these public-private partnership, PPP means public-private partnership structures are involved. So we have a policy or a scheme, I don't know if you're aware about it, which is Gati Shakti. Right? So Gati Shakti is a larger central level policy which involves infrastructure and PPP, eligibility criteria and requirements and all. States क्या करते हैं? Dovetail करते हैं. Dovetail is a word which is used कि जब आपकी कोई सेंट्रल लेवल पॉलिसी होती है तो सेंट्रल लेवल पॉलिसी को बेसिकली स्टेट्स क्या करते हैं? रेप्लिकेट करते हैं और उसको कस्टमाइज करते हैं स्टेट के लेवल के नीड्स पे, और उसको डवटेलिंग कहते हैं. For example, we can have a central level policy on, let's say, leather sector. Then we can also have a state level policy on leather sector, which is for UP. अब उसमें जो भी चीजें होंगी, which then it will be customized according to the state's need. ठीक है? So that is called dovetailing. Coming to the last part of or the subtopic of the day, that is, what role are we then playing in monitoring and evaluation? Okay, so we have designed a policy, then we are also working on the implementation of that policy. But the third and the most important part is that how are we evaluating the policy being implemented on ground? Is the policy able to deliver the intended goal or not, right? So that is the most important part, क्योंकि even the government wants it. Why? Because, okay, can you give me guys a second, because I need to connect the charger to this. Give me a second. Somehow there was some technical error, probably some network issue also, and I got disconnected. Can you all see me? Yeah, so I would also like to now go because I have another meeting lined up and my colleagues are waiting for me. I'm really sorry I couldn't finish the session. We probably had a deep dive into every topic that we had. And good questions, but guys, by the way, amazing questions. And probably any other session, any other day, if I will get time, I will surely come and try to give more insights. But yeah, please tell me if you guys actually had any thing that you could get out of it, and if the session was good enough for you guys. Or if
Yeah,
you
ma'am, it was very nice session. It was very nice session, ma'am.
okay, great. Okay, so thank you guys. Thank you everyone for joining. And probably okay. Bye bye guys.